Okay, now my haere mai will start this morning's proceedings with the Karakia. I invite you to stand, please, if you could. Tutawa mai I runga, tutawa mai I raro, tutawa mai I roto, tutawa mai I waho. Kia tō al te maritu, pe Māori ora ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Ngā mihi nui. Thank you. So thank you everyone for being here and welcome to our Thames Coromandel District Council hearings on the representation review. We will be hearing submissions and the consideration of our final proposals. We have a total of, how many submissions did we have in total?
Through the chair, we had 80 submissions.
80 submissions, 80 plus late submissions, or at least one, which we'll need to deal with in a second. We have 6 verbal submissions, and welcome to the people who are here in person to make those submissions. We'll get to that in a second. We have a, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Are there any apologies to be made? It looks like we've got a full complement of councillors. Any other apologies? There being none, do we have any conflicts of interest which need to be declared? So we are at the hearing stage. I've asked for conflicts of interest. Councillor Gottlieb, is there any comment that you want to make in regard to the fact that you
I haven't got a conflict on making a submission and being a councillor. When it comes to the decision time, that may be a different thing, but I doubt it will be, because whether you've read my email this morning, you can see the basis which I've approached this is to keep options open just in case the figures that come back in October are dramatically different as we being what we think they may be, because they'll be the real ones.
So thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. To be clear, for today's proceedings, you are presenting in a private capacity.
Correct.
Thank you. So just, do I need to get a ruling on that? Do I need to get some input on that? No? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So what we need to do before we start as a council is a couple of resolutions to keep the procedures in line. First of all, we're going to receive the representation review hearing of submissions and consideration of final proposal report. We're going to receive the 80, I think it'll be 81 submissions now. And we're also going to approve the acceptance of late submission. Is it just one or submissions? Just one, isn't it? Late
through the chair, it's just the one late submission that we have received.
Okay.
Well,
so
wasn't there one that came this morning? There was another one I saw this morning that came.
Through the chair, I'm not aware of another submission that's come through.
I think that was just a confirmation. Fleming had already made a submission within the time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So what we'll do is, can I get a mover and a seconder, please, thank you, to receive the report, receive the 80 submissions and approve the acceptance. Go seconder. Thank you, Councillor Connell. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay. And that happens after submissions. All right. Thank you. Before we start hearing the submissions, I think it's important just to clarify a couple of things. First of all, the hearing today on representation review is about the number of councillors that we have as a council, the number of wards, the number of community boards and community board members. It is about hearing submissions on minor boundary changes between Thames General Ward and South East General Ward, and the Thames Community Board and Tairua Pawanui Community Boards. It's also about shifting the area of Neavesville and its surrounds to better reflect communities of interest. And the Neavesville issue was pretty much a no-brainer because Neavesville is within about 15 minutes of Thames, and yet it was sitting in the Southeast Ward, which is probably 40 minutes away from Neavesville. The number of residents in the Neavesville Road area is very small, and it was just logistical, and it made sense to move that. What I would like to say also is that today is not a discussion about whether this council does or does not have Maori wards. That is a separate decision-making process for council. And I know a number of submissions have been received on the Maori wards issue. We will stick to the agenda today in the decision-making process, and we've got Dale Ofsosky here. Thank you. And Tracy? Stacey, I'm sorry. I got that wrong last time too. My apologies. For guidance, and if it's all right with you, we will call on you as needed for some guidance in terms of the legal status and where we need to be going. Deli, did you have something?
Just want to make a quick comment before we commence, because this has been recorded and this is public, that there is a misunderstanding in the community that the additional councillor will come at an additional cost when effectively all of the 9 councillors will take a pay cut to enable the position of an extra councillor. I just want that to be out there because I don't think our comms have actually conveyed that.
Thank you, Councillor Collin, and I think it's a very good point because that has been discussed, the cost of the changes that are proposed in this paper. So thank you for raising that and for clarifying that. So having said that, we will start with the hearings, and the first person I'd like to invite up is Fleming Rasmussen. Thank you, Fleming. Yes, please. And if you take a seat, Fleming, and if you press the right-hand button on that, then the people online will be able to hear what you're saying. So you'll press the right-hand button, you'll see a red light come on, and then you're good to go. And Fleming, you have 5 minutes. We will give you a ding on the bell at 4 minutes, and then you've got a minute to wrap up after that. Thank you.
Thank you. May it please your worship and elected councillors. Tēnei koutou I tēnei ata. Time being of the essence, with only 5 minutes awarded, I have forwarded earlier today, and I've had confirmation that it's been received, a copy of my oral submission for general guidance for the council. So I'll take that document as read and go straight into it. Democracy requires due process and genuine consultation. My receipt of my oral representation today was number 88. You just talked about that there may be some 80 odd in total. What it shows is that a very low number of people are using the opportunity to respond. In democracy, for that to give effect, we need one person, one vote. And specifically that each vote carries the same weight. Now, there's obviously at the moment a basis based upon consensus 2018 and 2022, and I understand that there'll be other discussions or potentially submissions about that. But I think those 2 principles are important to arrest. One person, one vote, and each vote to be worth roughly the same. Then for us to have a process that is robust and stands up to scrutiny so that if and when decisions are being scrutinized, that we can refer back to a due process. And my submission today is about concerns about the process that has been applied, not about the outcome of that decision. I think the process that has been applied has been flawed, is flawed, and that leaves us as a council open to future criticism, whereas if we had adhered to a more robust process, that could be avoided. Now, ultimately, and I'll refer to the 88 numbers I talked about before, there is no better, more robust consultation process than to go to the electorate and ask them about their opinion. That would give you 33,600 and counting people to respond to. On average at the moment, last time about 45% of us participated in local elections. So let's be generous with the numbers and round up. So we got about 15,000 people who, everything else being equal, would be responding to what you as council are setting policy about in a structural change to democracy, as opposed to the meager 88, let's call it 100 this time, or the other smaller numbers of people responding to it. That goes back to the decision on the 31st of October last year. That goes forward from the consultation in inadverted commas since then. In my submission, and I'll not go through it, I've made 2 submissions, but I'm really urging, in the context of limitation of time today, I'm really urging you as councillors to consider the right thing is simply to go to the electorate and say, we believe this is what we should, but we want your opinion on it. And we all know, based upon the recent acts being passed, at least the 3rd reading has been there, that that will be a binding vote. As opposed to, thank you. It's very good with the council in the lower right corner at the same time. Specifically, when we go back to the concerns also about that when the decision was made, it wasn't a full council sitting. Whereas, either in a best case, you can argue that communication has been economical with the truth. Worst case, you could argue something harder, that the decision when it was made was unanimous. Unanimous normally constitutes the fact that there's a full council, or where the minutes at the same time report who's absent and made the excuses. It's been silent on that. So I'm urging, really just as a conclusion, my last 10 seconds, please reconsider and let's have a binding poll on it next year and then see what the electorate decides. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? There being none, thank you, Fleming.
Thank you for your time.
And I'd like to invite Heri Araha Skipper, please. Kia ora, Heri Araha. Before you start, can I take this opportunity just to say, go sideways a bit, to thank you for your work on Karakia. Obviously a very, very concerning and topical subject for our community. And I know that you've been really proactive in this area. So I just want to say a thank you before you start without using up any of your time. So, can I just get to the right page here, because I don't think this page number is. It would help if I turn to page 52. Karakia, thank you. Over to you.
Tēnā tātou, tēnā koe le nau I tūwhera tō tātou nei hui o tira kia koutou katoa I roto te ruma ngā rangatira o Pare Hauraki, no reira tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou. I'm Heri Aroha. I'm here to speak as one of your community and in particular for our Māori representation. And so I sit on the Ngāti Tamatara Treaty Settlement Trust as a trustee. I'm the chair of the Ngāti Pawa Iwi Trust. I sit also on Te Whareki Manawahine o Hauraki, which is based here in Thames. I've spent 30 years as a career in education, working for the University of Waikato. I now live here in Tapu, and I say I'm born and raised in Hauraki. So I just really wanted to ensure that there's a voice for Māori, for whānau, for hapu, and for iwi. In the current climate of what's been discussed, we have the OCR, GDP, and all these things that are pertinent to our communities. Yet for Māori, we're still dealing with poverty. And so in saying that, we have initiatives across our whānau, hapu and iwi, and strategies that's going to deal with those issues that our people currently face. But I would also like to share that across the spectrum, we currently represent 1 in 5 New Zealanders, the Māori population. And for 28 years and under, we represent 1 in 3, and we are a growing population. So I think it is really important that that representation for our people is pertinent within any community, especially within councils. So we as iwi have strategies too. You know, we are contributors to the economy. We have strong leadership, and the work that we do within our communities. We're looking for solutions. My background is also in research. I run my own business, and through our own findings is that we're actually decolonising ourselves and looking at our own cultural practices on how to move forward for the well-being of our people. Our cultural practices are sustainable practices, so that does us well when we're looking at environmental impacts. We look at social, economic, all these different areas, housing. How do we house our people? Our people majority of people don't own their own homes, so we too have strategies on working more as a prevention. So we have strategies working with our youth, with our rangatahi, finding them jobs, ensuring that our mokopuna, our tamariki are in better housing, have better health outcomes, and that prevents them from going into poverty. A job can make a huge difference for that whānau. I myself have been educated. We have doctorates in our family now. I have 4 generations of reo speakers. I was not a native speaker, my father was, but now all my, and my whole whānau, all our children, te reo Māori is their first language. They've been raised in te reo Māori, and they all finished at year 7 at schooling system throughout the schools and all working. So our pass rates in NCA were over 90%. I come back home here and our children are failing miserably. So I'm really concerned about what's happening within our communities, because we have come from a strategy of working towards a better future for our rangatahi and mokopuna. And that's why I commend this council. I commend this council for your courage to consider. I know Māori wards aren't on the board, but I encourage us to meet as iwi chairs. We have 12 iwi in your community. I think if we all work together and come together as councillors and iwi chairs, you'll be really quite surprised in terms of what iwi are doing within this space. We have social services, we have businesses, we're working in the taiao. So tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou, tēnā tātou.
Kia ora, Heri Araha, thank you so much. Councillors, any questions? One thing I would like to ask you, and you've already discussed a much wider range of activities that yourself and your iwi and other iwi are involved in. Outside of this forum, I would like to discuss with the chair of our Sustainability and Resilience Committee, Robin Sinclair about whether you would be open to come and have a wider discussion with our council about some of that work that's happening, because I think not just our council, but the wider community could benefit from more insight into what's going on out there. Because it does go to the heart of some of the issues that we're trying to address in our community, and we saw that through all the storms and the resilience rebuilding that we did, and I know we were very proactive in that area. So
I think, fortunately for this council, you have 3 marae in your area. You've got Mātai Whetū, Manaia Marae, and Te Paia Marae, and Haratanga as well. So, you know, those are our natural gravitations, not just for Māori, but for communities. I've been, been involved with the civil defence here. Fantastic, different solutions, different ways working together and getting those messages out. But we are active on the ground for our communities. We make sure that they're fed, during those storms, the issues around that all our communities. But we just don't look after our own. We look after everybody in our community. So we've got some really good solutions on how we do that and preparedness for those sorts of events.
thank you so much. No further questions, councillors? Thank you, much appreciated. We've got Patrick Kerr on the list, but I haven't seen his name pop up on Teams, so I'm not sure whether Patrick's with us or not.
Through the chair, we're just trying to send the link back through to him.
Okay, so
And I'd just like to mention at this time that Lenny is unable to attend also.
thank you.
So I'll leave it to your discretion if you would like to ask Councillor Gottlieb to speak.
So let's leave the door open for Patrick Kerr. If he's got some technical issues and he manages to connect. In the meantime, we've got Stephen Clay not confirmed. Not confirmed. Okay. Lenny's not available. So while we're seeing if Patrick's got some technical issues, we'll go straight to Councillor Gottlieb.
Thank you. I better show you my physog. As you can see, I was a late submitter because the more I started looking at things, the more I became concerned. As for some weeks now, if not months, I've been trying to find out matters relating to how the fact that we were basing it largely on the 2018 census, which is considered by the experts as being flawed, and various other approaches were taken. The submissions I sent in yesterday, when I did that, I was unaware of the guidelines, even though they had been mentioned in May last year by Dale in his report to us. It was mentioned briefly, and I didn't realise the importance of them. And now I've read them. I've sent you chapter 8 relating to the technical information, and I'd also included, which I've sent previously, the letter from the University of Waikato. So the concerning thing I have is when we get in October, that's when we're going to get the real results of the 2023 census. If it is somewhat different to what we've got and it makes a difference to us, I wanted to keep our options open, because if in the end we say, gosh, maybe we should do this and should do that, now we've got the correct figures, then I want to keep open the option of appealing. And as I've said, I would discuss this with other councillors before I did so, but having read quite a bit of the guidelines, there are some matters there which cause me concern, and but there is an appeal to them, and there is a right of judicial review, and anyhow, I'll just park that to one side, but I'm simply keeping it open as an option, because we will in October know. Our deadline to appeal is 25th of October, and I don't know what time in October the others are coming. And if it hasn't arrived by the 25th, I'd have to file pro forma an appeal, and then just so we didn't miss the timeline. So it's only because of you cannot make a representation on it unless you have been a submitter. So that's the reason I did it. It wasn't my first choice, but the reality is that's so we can keep our options open as council, because if they come back with quite dramatic figures, well, we're going to be going, wow. So that's what I'd just like to do, is keep the door open.
Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. Is that the end of your submission?
Well, yes, I think I've sent a bit of information you this morning, and in my one, and there's been a number of other emails which have been, and I just really want it done on a basis that we actually are relying on reliable information. And I've talked to Professor Cameron, and they do have some real concerns about what's happened, and the demographics, and there's 5 professors there, so I've certainly learned a bit from them. So let's just wait and see. They seem to think that the October one could be very important information, but time will tell.
Thank you. Councillor, if you have a scenario where the numbers are different from what we're working with at the moment, what would you potentially see as a change in the proposed boundaries or representation, or the number of wards or community boards? Could you give us an idea of what you would like to see, or what the objective is?
Until I see the figures and take some advice, I really can't say. I'm really waiting on the information, and that will be a guide one way or the other. I'm just keeping the door open.
So you mentioned, if the figures are dramatically different, you might do an appeal, and the potential for a judicial review.
That's the second one, because there are some discretionary powers. I've now been looking at the legislation quite a bit with the Local Government Act and the Commission and other aspects there. They do have some discretion in certain aspects. So I would try and not go overboard, but the reality is that it seems that it's a directive, a guideline is not binding law, but it seems to be that they think it is. So I don't think the High Court would actually quite agree with that, but that's by the by. So all I'm saying is keeping options open, what's best interest of the district, because if we come back with figures that go, wow, this is not right, then that's when I would take some action after discussion with councillors.
Councillors, any questions? Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. To be honest, I'm still struggling a bit to understand what it is that you would like to see different from what's been proposed. Is it an extra councillor? Is it extra boundary changes? I'm just not sure. Is there something?
But could I interject here? What I'm hearing is Councillor Gottlieb is submitting in order to enable the council to keep its options open should there be significant variations in population data that comes through. I don't think his submission is about what he's going to do other than enable the council to keep its options open. I don't think this is the forum where he's been requested or is proposing what that might look like. I think it came through very clearly to me that he said whatever happens would depend on what the numbers look like. And then when the numbers look like, we'll all be looking at it and saying, oh, well, what's the significance of this?
Thanks, Councillor Riddle, but I'm also conscious or mindful that we as a council have a process and a pathway that we're following under the law, and we're partway through that. How do we fulfil our responsibilities as a council to go through the steps that we've been going through since March, and what is it that we need to change if the numbers are different? So
with respect, we have.
Gary, hang on. Can I just get a response from our chief executive, and then I'll come back to you?
I'm just wanting to clarify with the chair. At the moment, we're having a submission of which questions of clarification could be asked. that this may not be the appropriate time to have the debate.
Yeah.
The time now is for any questions of clarification of the submitter. And when it comes to the discussion about what might happen subsequently, and I think that's potentially for a later time than the submission. And I would also say that actually the expert in the room here is actually Dale, and the question probably needs to go to Dale at a time when the meeting considers it appropriate.
Thank you. So I'm going to leave it there.
Well, I was just going to point out one thing on page 6. There's the action list. This just follows the action list. It's not going to speed up what's going to happen. You've got to go A, B, C, and D. You've got to go through those particular process. And then the public notice of proposition, a proposal, and on that date, appeals and other matters to be dealt with. And then finally it comes through in April next year. So we're just following the process. It's not going to change what's happening. It is just going to fall within that. And so this is not going to enlarge it at all.
Thank you. No other questions? All right. Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb.
Thank you.
And I think we've got Patrick Kerr who's connected with us. All right. Patrick, can you hear us? Patrick, unmute from your end. We can see your initials, but we can't hear you. Can you turn your camera on as well? So you still, potentially, you still might be having technical issues at your end, Patrick, because we're not hearing you.
His microphone is switched off.
Yeah, we can see that. We're trying to see if he can unmute it. No. Sorry, Patrick, we're a bit hamstrung. We can't do anything at this end. All right. So look, we might have to leave it there. We have a written submission from you, Patrick. Sorry about the technical issues.
I'll go and see if I can contact him.
Okay, Patrick, Ari's just going to try and contact you, maybe give you a call. If you, I don't know how technical you are, but if you go to the bottom of your screen and you right click on your speaker, you might have some sound settings there and maybe change the microphone. We did hear you earlier on. No, he's gone. Mhm. Folks, just give us a second until our governance advisor comes back, and then we see what happens next.
Hello. Oh, can you?
Hello,
Hi.
who's speaking?
Testing.
Oh, just testing. Okay.
Okay. Lindley's not on mute.
Lindley. Lindley, if you can hear us and if Ari's with you.
Through the chair, Patrick is unable to connect, but he will send some email correspondence through, which I will circulate to the councillors.
Thank you, Ari. So I'm just going to check with Ari the next steps in we've got Dale here to talk to us. Is that something that we continue as part of this hearing, or do we wind up this part of the hearing and then carry on with that?
Yes, through the chair, what we now need to do is receive the verbal submissions. I sent it through last night, just about the process. So we need to do that. We also need to note that it has considered all written and verbal submissions. And also we do need to know any reasons for any amendments.
Okay, thank you. So we've got resolutions 4, 5 and 6. Councillor Sinclair.
Put Barton to the post on this. I note that we received some late correspondence, particularly I haven't read the emails from Gary and Rasmussen this morning because they have arrived late. My morning schedule does not allow me ample time for reading, and if things are sent to me in the morning. And so I'm wondering if that is deemed to be relevant to the decision that we're making, can we please have an adjournment so that I can read it? And so that any other councillors who have morning routines that are quite busy, who maybe travelled from other parts of the district, would also have time to read those.
So I'm happy to put that. I'm just wondering if we amended the resolution to include. No, look, let's take 5 minutes so that Councillor Sinclair can read through that. I think it's a fair enough, and these came in late. I want to make sure that all details are included and heard. Councillor Rodley. We've done that.
Can I ask what number is Patrick Keen's? Is he under seat number? I can't. 7.
87.
I've got 85 front sheet.
Through the chair, going back to the email that I sent last night, we are looking at recommendation 4.
So earlier on, we voted on items 1, 2 and 3, or resolutions 1, 2 and 3.
Correct.
We're now on 4, 5 and 6.
Yeah, we'll try and get it up on screen so that everyone can see that.
So we're going to allow time for those who haven't read the late correspondence to read that. Councillor Sinclair, what are you specifically referring to? Was there something from Councillor Gottlieb?
I feel like our governance team have given us ample opportunity to read the documents that have come to us. And then this morning there is an email that I have not read from Gary Gottlieb referring to this issue. And I don't want, and an email last night that I had also missed referring to his issue. And if they have any relevance to this decision we're making today, then I can't, in all honesty, with my hand on my heart, saying that I have read all written material. So if they are relevant to what the decision that we're making, I need 10 minutes to read them because they have arrived late. And if they are additional reading that can be read after we've made this decision, then I'm very happy for that to also be the case. So I'm asking for clarification as to whether this is important for the decision that we're making right now, or whether I can read it later to catch up.
Thank you. So I've got open in front of me an email from Councillor Gottlieb, which went to Dale Ofsowski, 7:28 a.m. this morning. What you're asking is whether that needs to be read and considered as part of the resolutions in front of us. Is that a fair summary?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Can I then suggest we take 5 minutes, read through that, make sure all councillors have got that, assimilated that, and then if there's any questions popped out of that before we address the resolutions, all right? Okay, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hmm.
Everyone's had a chance to read that correspondence that came through from
Can you just touch base with John?
John Grant. Are you back from your, I know,
Explain to him that we
I-
have a small agenda.
Yep, I'm just back. So do I have to
Thank you.
read something, do I?
we had just had a small adjournment to read through the email from Councillor Gottlieb this morning, and just to make sure that everyone was aware of that and whether we needed to be fully up to date or up to
Okay.
speed with what was read in that. So do you want a couple of minutes to read through that?
Is that the one that came through earlier this morning about
Yes, it is.
eight? Yeah, I have read that. Thanks.
You have read it. All right.
I just sent through one very brief amendment. I left out in paragraph 1. It was May 2023. I left that out. It was the May last year, 2023.
Oh, no, that was very clear in the email. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, so what'll happen next in procedure terms is that we've got the resolutions 4, 5, and 6 for councillors to approve, and then after that we will finish the hearing session, the formal part of the hearing session, and then look at the rest of what the business that we've got to do, which is where we'll ask Dale for some input. So we've got resolutions 4, 5, and 6. Does everyone have a copy of those resolutions? Thank you. They're on the screen in front of us. Cool.
So they come up on this screen, but not on that one because I can't read that one. But I can always just read them on mine. This is good for everybody else in the room except me. But hey, that's right.
Oh, are you not seeing what we're seeing here?
They're all on an angle for me. It's just a.
Simon, where's Simon? I'm
It's
sure
crappy.
that
It's a-
thing's on wheels. I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
We can't see it online either. Just
You can't.
No.
Okay.
got it
There
now.
we go.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect.
There it is. You're too sure. So that's now being shared online.
Thank
Delhi,
you.
have you got that on? There you go.
Yeah, so I can see that
On-
screen, but I can't see any of these.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We have the technology. We can solve it.
Martin.
Martin, there's some. Microphone.
In our agenda, bottom of page 2, we've got resolutions. We've got 1, 2, and 3. And the 3 here looks very similar to the 4 there. Or did I miss?
Through the chair, that is because we had to add an additional recommendation to formally accept the late submission.
Which is in the
So
email
that-
that you've sent in.
Yes.
My apologies. Thank you.
Which we've done now as resolution 3. Okay, which is, so the email is, so what was resolution 3 on the agenda is now resolution 4 on the email. Have I got that right? Yeah. Okay.
Correct. And that is because we had the additional recommendation for the late
Okay.
submission.
All right. So can I get a mover and a seconder, please, for resolutions 4 through 6? Is that a mover, Delhi? Is that a question or a seconder? Okay. So Councillor Connell moving, Councillor Rodley seconding. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? That's carried. Thank you.
I wonder, should I abstain or I'm quite happy with it, but I'm just thinking technically, should I abstain? That's all. I don't have a problem. I think I can say yes. Yeah, I'll stick with yes.
Councillor Connell, do you have a question?
This is the question. So does the remainder of this briefing remain as a public process, recorded and available?
After we close this, the answer is no.
Right, gotcha.
Thank you. I don't feel comfortable with the question and the response from Councillor Gottlieb, and I'm wondering whether we need to get some guidance on that and where to get it from, whether it's Dale or whether we need some governance guidance. Yes, I'm not comfortable with this. Thoughts?
Well, at the end of the day, it's Councillor Gottlieb's decision. It does seem a little bit odd to resolve to receive one's own submission. But at the end of the day, it is his decision, and our governance folk sent out some information last night, just alerting and suggesting he take advice on the matter. And that's probably about all staff can say.
Well, I was advised I didn't have a problem. But if people are happy, I just abstain. I'm happy to do that.
We'll leave it to your own judgment, Councillor Gottlieb. Thank you. So you're lodging an abstention for that?
Well, what do you think, Ari?
I think you should make your own decision, Councillor Gottlieb.
I see Councillor Grant's got his hand up.
Councillor Grant?
Look, I was just going to say in relation to what you just raised, that I feel comfortable from the point of view that it is a submission, and that's all it is. So it is submitted for consideration, and it can now be considered. So that would be what I would suggest.
And the meeting on the 3rd of September is where the decision is going to be made. Where I would probably...
Give us a second, Councillor. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So, Councillor Gottlieb, what we'd like to do is ask you to just clarify. Are you happy to abstain from this vote? In which case,
yeah, I'm happy to abstain if you prefer me to do that.
So it's
okay.
Yeah, so it's your decision, and I'm comfortable either way. So if you're happy to abstain, we'll lodge that as a formal response to the vote. Thank you. Okay. So we've got that, and that's the end of that process. Thank you very much. We voted on that. Governance team, is there anything else that we need to cover off? Okay, so I will formally declare this part of the meeting closed, and thank you all for your time. Thank you, Hari Araha, for your submission. And we'll close that part of the meeting, and I think probably a good time to have a cup of tea, and then we'll come back for the rest of it. All right. For those online, thank you. We'll draw a line under that and then ask you to come back in 15 minutes for the next section, please. Thank you.
Excuse me, what's the next section? I haven't got that on my list. Is on the agenda. All I've got